Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer, joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. Jared, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
Well, I can officially say that when we said yesterday, I think we ended the show by saying the Jaren Jackson Jr. news might be the best news that we get all week. Wednesday has been an absolute show, so we'll
Yeah.
talk about the trade stuff. We'll talk about what that means for tonight's slate, and we'll talk about how to maneuver such a slate. I mean, you kind of forget year over year when you get to this week how crazy things are and how to navigate things from player prop perspective, from a sports betting perspective. OKC ruled out their entire team today, and that's the second time somebody's done that in the last 2 days. So a whirlwind of things going on. And yeah, we don't have Giannis news yet either. So if that drops during the show, I'll probably log off.
I was thinking about it earlier today, how what I was trying to gauge what your reaction might end up being if we got that news on the podcast, and I was thinking, oh, I can't even begin to imagine how he would react to things. Certainly, interesting day of trades. Lots of stuff that we expected, or at least the Harden thing was something that we expected. And obviously, a lot that we did not expect, like the AD trade and some other stuff that went on. So, fun stuff. Definitely feels like there's more in store potentially. But we, in the meantime, have a 7 game slate to focus on and definitely some solid spots all around. So excited to break it down with you. Jared, let's start it out like we always do and talk about injuries.
Yeah, I think that the initial thing I want to get out there is that obviously there's a lot still going on with the Wolves, who have been linked to a few guys, including Giannis, including some other reports. So Anthony Edwards is currently questionable right now. So is Julius Randle. I've heard Jaden McDaniels is involved in these talks too, so just keep that in mind. Domantas Sabonis was linked that he might have gone to the Wizards, but it does feel like Sacramento's not going to make him a priority move. So he's questionable, so just keep an eye on that one. Josh Hart is questionable for New York. He's in a great spot, so that'd be unfortunate if he didn't play. Stephon Castle is questionable alongside Dylan Harper for San Antonio. And considering that OKC has sat everybody, like we mentioned, I'll get there in a second, I would feel I would feel pretty pessimistic toward Castle and Harper playing in this one. Santi Aldama is questionable for the Grizzlies, and I don't think anybody, at least as of right now, we could get that news later, is anybody from the trade from Utah. I don't think is eligible to play today, or maybe they haven't told us yet. So Kevin Durant, Miles Turner are your probable tags. Bobby Portis is out for Milwaukee, so that's a big thing for Turner. For Ryan Rollins, Jaylen Brown is doubtful. We should expect him to be ruled out. That total sank like 10 points, as well as shifted in Houston's direction 4 or 5 points. So that's an interesting development there. Remember that Anthony Simons got traded, so there's lack of stuff there for Boston. And then the OKC stuff. I mean, everybody from SGA, who's out for 2 weeks, to Chet, to Jalen Williams, Hartenstein, AJ Mitchell, Alex Caruso, and Lou Dort are all out. And I don't even know how many healthy bodies they have. We'll get there, I'm sure, at some point today, but it's got to be 7 or 8. Yeah, chaos.
Chaos indeed. Definitely a lot to talk about. Jared, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can head over to top implied team totals.
Let's do it.
A low total type of day.
Yep.
Our top implied
Yep.
team total comes from the Sacramento Kings with a 116.25. They're 1.5 point favorites. Over under here is at 231.5. Usually you see a team in the 120s. Very rarely do you not get to see a team in the 120s, I guess is the better way to put it. So, definitely some interesting stuff with this Kings team. What do you think about them as they face off against the Grizzlies?
Well, I think the first thing we have to discuss is like what do we expect the Grizzlies to look like, right?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't even know. What's funny today? I'll update this later. But in our rundown, we have like projected starting lineups for the Thunder. I literally didn't put anybody. I said who knows,
Cool.
which is the only time I've done that this year. I think we have a similar thing to where like yeah, it's not the same situation for Memphis, but you do have some interesting things to decide. I do think we'll see Gigi Jackson slide into the starting lineup. I think it's a small sample size, but we have Ty Jerome at point, and he's played well, so I think they'll continue to do that. I guess for me, like an initial red flag is like, does DVP line up for Sacramento the same way it normally would against Memphis? That's my key thing that I want to just get your thoughts on early on, because if we're looking at that from that angle, like we've seen wings really do well against Memphis recently. We've seen bigs be able to rebound really well against Memphis recently. And, power forwards just all the way around have smashed in the spots. So what are you looking at in regards to Sacramento and how you think DVP matters here?
If anyone's not listening, if anyone's not watching the show, I shoulder shrugged because I don't know. Like, this is an incredibly tough spot to break down for this Memphis team. It's kind of similar to what we talked about with Utah last night, where it's like, how much can you really depend on, or not Utah? Am I talking about Utah? I think I am. How much can you really depend on the DVP and the positional data when this is a completely new defensive team? Like,
Yeah.
3 out of the 5 guys here are not your traditional starters that you would usually see, at least of what we have in the expected lineup right now. And really the only guys that are somewhat consistent pieces are Cedric Coward and Jalen Wells, kind of. Like, Wells isn't even like a consistent piece. He's a guy that plays
Right.
like 20 to 25 minutes a game and somehow gets starts. So, like, hard spot to break down. I would assume that the Kings can kind of have their way here, but it's not like you feel great about this situation where, at least with the Kings on, I think it was Sunday that we talked about the Kings a little bit, at least in the Discord we did. They had Westbrook out, they had Sabonis out, there was a bunch of usage up for grabs, there was places that you could go that you felt good about. I think everyone plays. Like, I think Sabonis is questionable right now, but I think that was in preparation for him to potentially get traded. Like, I don't think he's actually questionable here. I think most likely, now that they've ruled out a trade, he most likely ends up playing in this one. So that makes things really complicated if this team's fully healthy and ready to go. Not to mention, you add DeAndre Hunter to the lineup now. Who knows what that's going to look like? Just a lot of head-scratching pieces for this Kings team. They're the top implied team total, but I couldn't imagine getting behind them today. If you really wanted to get behind a piece, I think it would end up being Zach LaVine. You talked about it. Kings guard defense, or Kings wing defense, has been really bad recently. LaVine is one of the only above-the-break 3 shooters that can really do well on this team now. And, I like the LaVine spot, but I don't think you'll see me betting it tonight.
Yeah, I was trying to talk my way into DeMar DeRozan, but I don't think I can get there. Mid-range defense is a lot better than I thought it was. So just be careful. I know a lot of people lean into DVP. I am one of them, but today doesn't feel like a day you can do that for this side.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can move on to this next team.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to this next team, which is going to be the New York Knicks. They have a 115 implied team total. They are 5-point favorites here. Over-under is 226.5. Jared, the Knicks are on a 7-game win streak right now. And over that 7-game win streak, I wish I remembered the exact stat. I just saw it on X, either last night or today or at some point. But, like, they've outscored opponents by 100-plus points over this 7-game win streak. So they've been absolutely rolling teams. Definitely a tougher matchup when it comes down to it when you face off against Denver and some more solid pieces than they were facing off against yesterday with the Wizards. But how do you feel about this Knicks team today?
Well, they're riding hot, like you said. I think that you can also lean into, like, I worry about the Josh Hart spot. Kind of talked about it earlier. He's questionable here. With that said, we played with fire yesterday with Cat rebounds and somehow found his way there. He had like 7 rebounds at the end of the third quarter to push him well north of his projection in his over-under market. But yeah, the thing here that you like the most for this matchup is something we've talked about a lot. Denver's just been really bad against wings, specifically the small forward position. I kind of wonder how that adjusts as they get healthier, because Denver does have Joker back. Christian Brown's probable today. Cam Johnson and Gordon are still probably going to miss, but we could see some shifts in how some of that starts to look. But you can still see, over the month of January and into this month that they've just been really bad against wings. So I do like Josh Hart from that angle, and I hope he plays. And he's been one of the driving forces of why they've been as good as they've been recently. Definitely didn't score that much last night, but has had some really good games from that angle recently. This isn't a great spot for shooting guards necessarily. This isn't really a Cat spot either. Doesn't feel like a Brunson spot. I know they're all playing well, but at some point collectively, like, I don't know, it kind of feels like a jumbled mess. I felt good about Cat last night, but another team total that I kind of scratch my head at.
Yeah, I do like the JB spot. I think Jalen Brunson makes sense here. 62% of point guards have surpassed their points line over the last 10 games against this Denver Nuggets team. Nuggets have also faced off against 3 elite point guards over the last 3 games. That's Cade Cunningham, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and James Harden. All 3 of them surpassed their points line with 25 points, 34 points, and 29 points, Jared. Okay. We've just seen elite point guards torch this team. So, like, I like the Jalen Brunson spot. I also like the OG spot. Like, we're going to talk about him when we get the hottest shooters, or at least I plan on bringing him up. And, like, the DVP makes sense for OG as well. At least somewhat makes sense. So I like the OG spot. I like the Jalen Brunson spot. I'll still stay away from Cat, but everything, those 2 guys that I mentioned are guys that I can definitely get behind.
Yeah, once again, well, he did a lot better. And I guess, like, you could argue that being up by 30 probably just, he kind of, I was going to try to say that Cat might have broken out of the slump that he was in. Like, he had 19 points last night and he had 15 boards. So I don't know. I'm trying to talk myself into that kind of, but at the same time, because they'll need his size in this matchup. There's no doubt about that. It's just, I was looking at historics and how he's done against Denver, and there's been rather middling results, and they haven't played each other this year yet. DVP says stay far, far away from Cat. I don't know. I still think he can put up double-digit boards here.
I think we just got trade news on the podcast.
Did we?
Nope, I lied. I saw something in chat and I fell for it. All right. Anything else here for this Nuggets team? If not, we will move right along.
Neither the Knicks haven't really been in trade talks at all, which is kind of interesting. So there's nobody that I think we should expect to be moved in that spot tonight.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, let's move right along to this next top implied team total. That'll belong to the Minnesota Timberwolves with a 114.75 implied team total. They're 1.5 point favorites here. Over-unders at 226.5. Talk about a game that you kind of scratch your head at because Minnesota's 2 superstars are both questionable in this one, in Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. So it feels pretty hard to talk about this team until you get that news. Give me your if statements here. If Edwards doesn't end up playing, who benefits? If Randle doesn't end up playing, who benefits?
Yeah, so these guys were both questionable the other day. They ended up both playing. I think you can also throw in the fact that, like, Minnesota's kind of just up in the air in terms of I'm sure, behind the scenes, it's like that SpongeBob meme where everybody's running around in SpongeBob's head freaking out. That feels like what the Timberwolves are doing on behind the scenes thing with all of the trade rumors, and they moved Conley, and they're trying to move money. So we'll see what happens in terms of what happens tonight. I think that we have seen Toronto just give up a ton of points to scoring guards. So guys like DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, even Bones Highland, who might get some more playing time without Conley, could be guys that we see step to the forefront a little bit. This is a beautiful spot for rebounding for Rudy Gobert. The Raptors have allowed the most rebounds to the center position over their last 7 games. They're not allowing a lot of zone scoring anywhere necessarily. I just think we've seen guards do well in the matchup in general. So that's what I'd be leaning into. This does feel like a nice ant spot in general when looking at DVP. And it looks like a great Rudy Gobert spot from a rebounding perspective, like I mentioned. We've talked in the past about, Julius Randle getting a massive bump per 36 with Ant off the floor, so that'd be an obvious go-to from there, but it's not necessarily a, super smash green light matchup by any means. Will say, when I looked at the trends for this spot historically, you gotta have to take it with a grain of salt because Toronto's looked a lot different just in general these past 2 or 3 years. Gobert has had 24 plus PRA and 4 straight against the Raptors. On top of that, Randall's recorded 35 plus PRA and 5 straight against Toronto. You can kind of, I don't know, like it's fun stuff to believe in, but like, it's kind of weird to translate because not a lot of stuff checks every single box on this side.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely feels like a hard spot to fully get behind. Kind of just need that injury news before I can really say anything. So I think, honestly, if either one sits and the other one benefits, if they both end up sitting, good luck. I don't think you really are that interested in anything after that. Maybe we see Dante DiVincenzo throw up a bunch of threes, but other than that, I can't imagine liking much else in this spot. Okay. Do you want to cover one more team? Do you want to move on hottest shooters? It's up to you.
When I said Bones Highland, I think I meant that it would be more of a. I meant to say maybe they'll give Rob Dillingham some time. So I don't know.
yeah.
They've been really reluctant to do that. He hasn't played more than 10 minutes in like 2 months. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you think about like a Dillingham, a Jalen Clark maybe? They've played this core so much that it's tough to really see who benefits without Conley.
Yeah, I would probably just say it is Bones, right? Like, Bones will definitely be, like, sixth man now, and I like that spot for him.
Yeah,
I'm not... yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I can get behind it or not. Like, it's tough. Like, maybe he plays 20 minutes now, but it's just not getting all the way there for me.
For sure. All right. Anything else here? If not, like I said, up to you. We can cover one more team or we can move on.
Let's cover one more team.
Let's cover one more team. That team's going to be the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the same implied total that the Minnesota Timberwolves have at 114.75. They're 1.5 point dogs against the Kings. Over-under is at 231.5. We've already kind of mentioned this team in passing a couple times, just talking about how the lineup is going to be extremely different. We still need to wait on Santi Aldama news because, I mean, if Santi sits, like, who do they really start at center after that? Like, I don't think they have another guy to start. They just have to shift down Gigi to play like a small ball center, essentially, and I don't know, that could get really ugly. Regardless, what do you think about this Grizzlies team?
Yeah, they have Dallas's former Dallas center, Maxine's Prosper. I guess you could play him 20 minutes. He'll probably be able to give you that, but still hasn't played more than 20 in just one of these like last 5 games. So, yeah, not sure. Lineups going to look weird today, and I think you just finally get a spot where like they seem to want to play a lot of Ty Jerome, and he's in a small 2-game sample, he's played 19 and 20 minutes, and he's put up 20 and 19 points. So it's very clear that they are just saying, go out there and just do whatever you can. And I do think that when you look at Memphis, you do have to focus on who's playing point guard and who's playing center for those teams against the Kings, as those are the spots where you've had the most success from a scoring angle. I think that, I was really hoping that this trade would just elevate the spot for Cam Spencer, but they just don't want to play him more than 25 minutes a game right now. He's not hitting the 30-minute mark. Maybe that changes starting now, but I'm not really sure. So with that said, this is only going to get way more complicated as soon as Walter Clayton's playing, and as soon as Kyle Anderson's in the fold, as soon as Hendricks is in the fold. I don't know. But for right now, I think I lean into Ty Jerome, and you kind of just have to hope that Santi plays, right?
Yeah, we should remember that Ty Jerome is on this 20-minute limit, so like I would be generally careful with the spot. It's just his lines are going to be lower, obviously, because of the 20-minute limit, but it's also just not that much time to produce. You kind of need, I'm not going to say everything to go right for you, but you need a lot to go right for him to hit his lines in just 20 minutes. If they plan on sticking to that, who knows? Maybe that elevates with him playing the last 2 games. Regardless, I don't know. I really like the spot for Santi if he ends up playing. I think Santi could have a dominant game here. I think he could kind of just be that team leader in usage. He's brought on that role before back last year at the end of the season when like this Memphis team was extremely hurt. I just don't know if he will end up playing. So that just throws a huge question mark until we figure it out. Isn't it kind of telling that the Kings are only 1.5 point favorites here? Like,
Yeah.
Kings have the full starting lineup, the DeAndre Hunter and everyone, and Memphis has like a this ragtag group of players here, and they're still only 1.5 point dogs. And Sacramento's at home too. Like, I don't know, something feels fishy about the line.
Sure does. That feels like a Sabonis sit spot potentially. I don't know. We'll see. But there is there a world where you could see a GG Jackson slide into the 5?
I don't think so. If they have the Dallas center prosper, then I would imagine he ends up getting the starting spot.
One last note on this side. Jerome has, like I said, put up 20 and 19 points. It was both against Minnesota, same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota was the worst team in the league against the point guard position, as we just covered. So this is just as good of a spot. Like, no one has run hotter after not missing or after not playing for like a month and a half than Ty Jerome. So at some point, I think you got to like really look hard and say, how long can he do this for?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else here? If not, let's head over to hottest shooters.
Nope. Let's move on.
All right, take it away. What do you got here?
A lot has happened recently, so we're not going to have a lot to talk about from this angle. I know you already have this guy brought up. I guess I'll go and talk about Ryan Rollins for a moment. I do think that things could change a little bit with Kevin Porter Jr. being cleared to play, though I don't think he gets a full allotment of minutes tonight. But no Bobby Portis, and obviously no Giannis. And Ryan Rollins is basically just the offense right now. 40 fantasy points in 4 straight games. He has 21 plus points in 4 of the last 5. And I think he's getting pretty close to, like, in really, really, really solid matchups. He could get really close to getting a triple-double. He fell 3 short of rebounds last night, but still finished with 10 assists and 21 points. So in terms of hottest shooters, I wouldn't say he's lighting the world on fire, but I would say that he is easily the most consistent thing on this team right now. And the usage being north of 25% seems like a lock, at least for the current status.
Yeah, for sure. Can certainly get behind that. Like you said, already had the guy brought up, but OG Anunoby has been playing really well recently. 4 straight games with 18 plus points. 7 out of the last 10, he's had 18 plus points as well. Yeah, I like the spot. I think there's upside here. I don't think it's like the best spot in the world, but I like the consistency, and I could definitely see him continuing this hot streak that wing players keep doing well here against Denver. So, yeah, OG's my guy there. Who else you got, Jared?
I know we kind of poo-pooed the spot for DeMar, but I'll bring his name up here again. There must have been a blowout against Boston over the weekend, or whenever that was, sometime late last week. But you take that game out against Boston, DeMar scored 25 or more in 3 of the last 4, and 30 in 2 of those games. I still think like DVP tells you that this is a good spot. I am kind of reluctant on saying it, but DeMar DeRozan definitely deserves to be in the conversation with as many 30-point games as he's had recently.
Yeah, has definitely been one of those hot shooters recently. We'll bring up Naz Reid here. We've seen some consistency from 3-point range from him recently, which has been really nice. He's had 3+ threes in 4 out of the last 5. He's had 3+ threes in 7 out of the last 10 as well. We saw him have 6 threes against Memphis recently, so we've seen some hot shooting from him. I don't know if I fully get behind the spot, but like the hot shooter category definitely deserves to have his name in there.
We can add, we've talked about Durant a lot on the show. Missed the last game, kind of fell apart in the game before that, but he had been one of the most consistent scorers in the NBA in the month of January, so he should be listed here as well. And there's one more that I wanted to bring up that I don't think we touched on yet. Oh, it was going to be Sam Hauser, but he's out for this game. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're good here.
Yeah, would tend to agree. All right. let's head over to round table, Jared. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I both bring some top plays to the table to talk about here in different statistical categories. Those categories are points, rebounds, and assists. We'll start out at points. Jared, we haven't talked about a whole bunch we have liked today, so let's talk about some things we really do like.
I really like the spot for Zion Williamson today. The Milwaukee Bucks have been just a bad team in general against the forward position recently. They have allowed the fifth most points to that position. Not only that, but this lines up tremendously well for Zion in the restricted area. The Bucks are starting to leak points. It's every single time Giannis has one of these stints where he's out for a long period of time, you start to see Milwaukee slowly go up the leaderboard in terms of restricted area shots allowed. They are a bottom 7 team against that zone now, and Zion, with Giannis out, ranks number 1 in the NBA from the restricted area. He's making like 12 to 15 points a game. And on top of that, like recency, he's just been more of a focal point of this offense. And I saw something. I'll look at what it was and credit the person who said it, but he's played the most consecutive games in his NBA career now. Let me go look at that. I think it was something like 26 games in a row, which obviously
that's sad
for most people is not a huge number, but yeah. At Fear the Brown on X said he hit 26 games played in a row, which is a career high. Say what you will about Zion, he's playing a lot right now.
Yeah, certainly playing a lot. Definitely has picked up his performance quite a bit. I'll bring Donovan Mitchell to the table. I already shared this tidbit with Jared, but wrote it in the rundown today. And it was when James Harden, Evan Mobley, Max Strus, Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter are not on the court. Donovan Mitchell has a 38.2% usage rate. When Mitchell has a usage rate of 30%, 35% or higher in a game, he has had 30-plus points in that game 19 out of 20 times this season, Jared. That's insane. His line's not even 30. It's 28.5. So, like, you get a point to work with there. I love the usage spot. I love the amount of threes that he's taking. This Clippers team has allowed the most three-pointers made to the point guard position over the last 7 games. Absolutely outstanding spot for Donovan Mitchell. I think he can absolutely tear it up here. Clippers defense is worse off without Zubac as well. Now you have Chris Dunn and Kobe Sanders potentially guarding the guard spot, though I imagine he'll get a little bit of Kawhi too. Still, Kawhi's got to focus on leading the offense for this team right now. He can't focus on defense all that much. So this Donovan Mitchell spot's juicy and one that I really like today.
All right, we'll move to rebounds. Kind of already brought up the Gobert stuff. His spot's elite. So what I will do is stay in the same game and talk about Emmanuel Quickley, who could have also been mentioned in the scoring spot. We talked about Minnesota being the worst team in the league to allowing the most points to point guards over their last 7 games. They've also allowed the most rebounds to point guards over their last 7 games. And Quickley, not really known for being a rebounder, quietly has recorded 4+ rebounds in 6 straight games. So spot lines up very well for Emmanuel Quickley.
Definitely can certainly get behind that. I'm going to go to this DVP spot for Derek Queen. I like the rebounding spot for him against this Milwaukee team. We've seen centers able to expose this defense recently. They're allowing the 9th most rebounds to the center position over the last 7 games. Queen's rebound chances are all the way up to 13.5, which is 43rd most in the NBA. Yeah, I like the Queen spot here.
I like the Queen spot as well. Luckily, Queen was not just on the trade block just now, but we do have breaking news. I was hoping it wasn't going to be from anybody we just mentioned. It isn't. Lonzo Ball, 2 second-round picks to the Utah Jazz, Josh.
Gross. It's sad that the Lonzo Ball experiment did not work out in Cleveland. I know a lot of people were excited about it, and a lot of people felt like it could work. It did not, though. And I don't even know if he's worth 2 second-round picks at the end of the day. Like,
I don't remember the number, but it was out of like, I don't know how many players does the NBA actually have in rotation? Whatever
it's
that
15
number
times
was.
30, so 450.
Yeah.
Well, that's how many players are on the roster.
Well, let's save. I'll look at this for the actual number, but if that number is 450, I saw someone post something that said like Lonzo Ball's true shooting percentage out of active players was like 15 below that number, like
Oh
460,
gosh,
something like that.
jeez.
So maybe the Utah sees something we don't. Maybe this is just a Cleveland flush it out, try to get LeBron off-season stuff. That's what it feels like to me.
A little bit more breaking news. Jock Landale to the Hawks for cash considerations, just for money purposes.
Okay.
Makes sense. Was part of that Memphis deal. They already have a logjam at center with Kessler and Nurkic and everyone else. Triple J as well now, I guess. Atlanta desperately needs a center. So, like, if you're thinking that Porzingis is not as healthy as everyone thinks, then this deal makes a lot of sense for them. Anyway, those are pretty minor deals at the end of the day, but still fun stuff to talk about. Assist, where do you want to
go? You could honestly name quickly for every category in roundtable, but I'll go ahead and I'll go to Brunson here. I think that this is a spot where Denver's just gotten. They're not allowing assists to like any position outside the point guard position, where they allow the eighth most to that position over their last 7 games. We talked about how the Knicks are rolling right now, and I do think that this is a nice spot for Brunson, where this is probably one where it might get left off the big board because we have some monster assist type plays today, but just don't forget about the spot that he's in.
For sure. Sorry, you caught me mid-drink there. I will bring up a spot that we've already mentioned on the show, but I think we mentioned him for hottest shooters, so I'll bring it back up here. It's going to be Ryan Rollins here. 7+ assists in each of the last 3 games. Line sits between 6.5 and a 7.5 in most spots. But I like the spot. Pelicans are allowing a bunch of assists. I worry a little bit about the back-to-back, but I still think at the end of the day, this should be a high-scoring affair for this team. It should show at least some upside with how bad both of these defenses are. And I think that should benefit Rollins at the end of the day. So Rollins assist will be the play that I go with. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, we will head over to 2 minds are better than one.
You could throw Cam Spencer's hat in the ring here too, if you'd like, for assists. I know that some of these numbers have gone down a little bit, but yeah, I'm optimistic that he gets 25+ minutes here without Vince Williams.
For sure, can certainly get behind that. All right. Oh wow. How does that make any sense? Lonzo Ball to be waived by the Jazz? Why do you trade?
Tough. I don't know.
Why do you give up 2 second-round picks to whatever? I don't understand it. I'm sure there's something in there that makes it make sense, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Cleveland seems to be cooking something up here. That's what I think.
Yeah, maybe, potentially. All right, let's head over to 2 minds are better than one. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I pick 2 player props each, and we put those into a parlay. Our goal for the parlay is to have odds around +100 to +150. We do it over on DraftKings Sportsbook, but you can do it wherever you want. We fell short yesterday. Luka didn't come through. Sad days because I thought the Porter spot wasn't going to come through because of the blowout. Ended up just barely getting there. Isaiah Collier dominated. I think your other spot dominated as well. And Luka was the only one that come up short. So let's run it back today. Let's have a better one today. Let's hopefully get all 4. And I'll let you go first. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I know that he's fallen short a couple of games in a row, though I will mention that he has been really consistent at like the 24 to 27 market. And that is Emmanuel Quickley, PRA. We just saw Ty Jerome in 20 minutes destroy this team from that angle. And I know that a couple of guys have gotten really, really close and just fallen short. Like Shea was like right at his market. Podziemski was right at his market. But I think we can run it back with Emmanuel Quickley here. And we could take 20. I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, we can certainly get behind that. I am going to go to this Donovan Mitchell spot I just brought up. I think Mitchell is in a great spot scoring-wise. I really like the upside. I like the upside for this game as a whole. Like, I know Clippers got to be kind of down in the dumps. I worry about the locker room vibes a little bit. But if you put that to the side, there are definitely upsides for the Stars on both teams. So kind of hinting at my second pick already. But for this one, we'll go Donovan Mitchell for 25+ points. Actually, we'll go 20+ points and maybe adjust that if we need to.
All right. I've already talked about the Gobert spot in a bright light, and it only gets better if one of the Randall or Edwards sit. We just saw Nurk get 13 boards in the spot. Saw Towns get 22 boards in the spot. Chet cleared his line. Donovan Clingan cleared his line. I think Gobert kind of fits into the Clingan, Towns, Nurkic type of rebounder that we want in this matchup. So we'll go with Gobert. I'd assume, like I see his line at 11.5. I'm sure we can get something around 8 or 9.
Yeah, we can get 9. I'll have to work out some stuff on my end, but we can get 9 here. I might up it to 10 depending on where I can find this combo. And for my final play, I'm gonna go with Kawhi. Question is where I'm gonna go at. You know what? I'm going to go with Kawhi for 30 plus points plus, or no, 25 plus points plus assist. We'll go with the lower line here, and I'll end up upping the Donovan Mitchell line to make things work. But I like the Kawhi Leonard spot. Like, the same type of usage stat applies here that does for Donovan Mitchell. I wrote this one up in the rundown as well. When Bradley Beal, Darius Garland, Chris Paul, Ray J. Dennis, James Harden are not on the court, Kawhi Leonard sees the biggest boost in usage with his usage at 39%. When Kawhi has a usage rate in a game of 35% or higher, he averages 33 points a game and has had 27 plus points in 12 out of 15 games. Fitting that criteria. So, like, the spot's excellent. I worry about this team being down in the dumps, like I mentioned, but you're just hoping that at the end of the day, Kawhi's ready to carry this team a little bit and at least make them competitive for the rest of the year. So, like the Kawhi Leonard spot quite a bit. We'll go with 25 plus points plus assist, and then we'll up Donovan Mitchell's points to 25 instead of 20. That gets us to plus 112. So I'll repeat everything, all the plays like I usually do, just because we're kind of shifting things around. We have Emmanuel Quickly for 20 plus PRA, Rudy Gobert for 9 plus rebounds, Kawhi Leonard for 25 plus points plus assist, and Donovan Mitchell for 25 plus points. Altogether gets us at plus 112, Jared. All right, give me your final thoughts. What do the people need to know?
We didn't even talk about OKC San Antonio really today. That line opened up OKC minus 2-ish, and now it's San Antonio minus 9. So obviously we don't like we can hodgepodge a starting lineup together, but from there, like, we're just in uncharted waters when it comes to how many guys are out for this one. Feels very much like the OKC lineup from like 4 years ago. And I do think that if there's anything that San Antonio has been weak against recently, it is the point guard position. So you can make a case for Cason Wallace, who I would expect to handle a full workload like that. It's just at times, like, whenever he is given 30 minutes, now I know Shea is not usually out for some of these situations, but it takes a lot for him to really, really get there at the end of the day. He has one game of over 30 fantasy points, two over 30 fantasy points since Christmas. So tough one to really, really feel great about. It's much different from last night's Tankathon game, where we knew that players would dominate against the Pacers and vice versa. This one feels like San Antonio just wins by 30 plus points and just runs them into the ground. So any notes on the Thunder stuff? I think rather dry slate in the front half of the slate. Like, there are some good spots, don't get me wrong. There are some definitely like flag plant worthy top overall plays in the first 5 games of this slate, but in the back half, like the Cleveland LA thing has some nice spots given the trade. The Memphis Sacramento stuff's all over the place on the Memphis side, and then the OKC stuff is what it is, I guess. January NBA. So that's my thought process. How do you think that OKC handles this situation?
Yeah, I kind of said it already to a member in chat. It was actually right before we went on the podcast, and just saying that, like, he was like, I know someone's got to be better than Cason Wallace here, but he does seem like he has the best matchup. And I was like, dude, I'd be shocked if they scored 90 points tonight. Like, yeah. What are the it's in San Antonio. We have seen Wemby show up in these games and really demand the most from the crowd. I wouldn't be shocked if San Antonio just lays down the whip here and just absolutely beats this Thunder team and beats them up. So, like,
game.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, like, this is a smart spot to sit everyone on top of like Shea already being out. You don't need this Thunder team being any more demoralized by San Antonio this year just because we have seen it so many times. I think it was smart for them to sit everyone, but I don't think it's really smart to try to target anyone. Who knows what these rotations are going to look like? I think it's going to be a messy game at best, and at worst, it's a 40-point blowout and an afterthought at the end of the day. So completely staying away from OKC, except for maybe betting the team total under. I feel like that'd be like a sharp way to approach my take at the very least. But yeah, like you said, like it's one of those spots where it's kind of like what we talk about in baseball, where you can cross out a lot of games today. There's a lot of games that just feel like there's really not much to talk about in them. There's a lot of uncertainty with these lineups that are dealing with trades and these teams that are dealing with trades that affect the lineups overall and affect rotations. There's like, I don't know, you did the first half of the slate. I did the back two games. There's one game that I like in the back two, and from what I can tell, there's maybe like two or three maybe that you like in the front half. So I won't spoil what those games are. I'll save that for members only. But I think you're very easily able to narrow down what games you're targeting today and kind of go from there.
Yeah, in the front half, Boston-Houston is like similar in the regard to OKC, where Jaylen Brown's not playing, Sam Hauser's not playing, and good luck guessing how they're going to fare against one of the league's best defenses. So, yeah.
Good luck figuring out how they're going to fare without Anthony Simons. Like, what does that mean for Pritchard, for White? Like, what does that mean for this rotation as a whole? We won't know until, a couple weeks. We won't know until after the All-Star break, most likely. Right. So that's the fun and the downside part of NBA trade deadline, is that it's a lot of fun to watch all these trades happen. It's not fun for us, where it's kind of just like the beginning of the season all over again. Like, you've got to figure out rotations all over again, and it's definitely a headache.
Certainly is.
All right. By the way, I found out the trade. Cleveland is trading Lonzo Ball and 2 second-round picks to Utah, and then Utah's way. So they're making him take on this contract and trading 2 second-round picks there. That way, so Utah will take on his contract, and then I think they're going to waive him, and he's going to go somewhere.
Got it. Yeah, they also lost a few picks in the Jaren Jackson deal, so they get some of that capital back. Interesting.
Send him to Charlotte, man. Let's have the Ball brothers finally team up. Seriously. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be a
good time. I really think that Cleveland's just like they're trying. They what I gather about because some people are on the side that like Harden's washed and this is just not going to work because everywhere he goes it just doesn't work. And while I sort of agree with that statement, I also think that they have a very limited opportunity. I think it's technically 2 years, not including this one. I think 2 years plus whatever happens in the next couple of months to make the core four work with Mobley, Allen, and obviously that's now Harden and Mitchell. I think getting James Harden now, number one, gives you a guy that's going to play every game unless something happens, obviously, whereas Garland's just dealing with injury after injury. And besides the eye stuff, that was kind of a freak accident, or was it the jaw? I don't remember. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened to him. He just has this like foot problem that's not going away. So they have made the decision to get Harden not only for that reason, but just for the sole fact that Donovan Mitchell's extension is coming up. And I think that having Harden there gives Mitchell some confidence that maybe they can continue to run things. I don't know. But you also add in like the silver lining, which is that maybe LeBron comes next year. I don't know. But that's my thought process on how that goes.
Yeah, I think this is how it works, right? At the end of the day, what happens is like you get rid of Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball was making like $10 million this year. So like important part of trading him away is probably getting under the second apron, which I imagine they're able to do now after that trade. So like that's really good news to get under the second apron. There's so many more harsh stipulations with being over that second apron nowadays that teams are very much trying to get under it. So I think that's the benefit of Lonzo Ball. I think the benefit of Harden, I think it's exciting for this team overall to get Harden and to play him this year. But Harden in his contract, if he gets waived next season, I think it's before, I don't know, there's a certain date stipulation to it, but if he gets waived by a certain date, he's only guaranteed like 11 million of his $40 million contract. So like I think they have that out next year where like if they want to lower the salary cap a little bit, they want to get under that second apron, solidify that getting under the second apron, or potentially push for someone else in free agency, then you're able to do that by waiving him and only being on the books for 11 million, and that ends up working out well to their favor to potentially, I don't know, push for a Giannis trade or do something here. So yeah, I think I like Cleveland's direction. I think everything they're doing makes a lot of sense.
I found the stat per Chase KR8 on X. There are only 450 active NBA players in the league at any given time, and Lonzo ranks 460th in field goal percentage.
Jeez, that's rough.
29.9%.
That is
from the floor and 26% from three.
That is rough. Okay. Anything else? Do you want to talk about any of the other trades? We kind of said we're going to do stuff on Friday, reacting to trade market stuff. So, up to you if you want to talk about anything else here.
More active Wednesday than I thought. More active Tuesday than I thought. I think the Jaren Jackson stuff kind of was the first domino that set everything up. And I think that you're starting to see the field drastically thin in terms of who can compete for Giannis and Ja Morant. Ja Morant's team came out and said that they don't want him to go to Sacramento, so that kind of stalled the Sabonis talk and all that other stuff. So, yeah, I think that I'm gonna be pro Wizards on Friday. That'll be my take that I can bring to the table. I feel pretty good about what they did, though obviously things get really, really like that is like the hospital team that you got to watch out for moving forward. So I don't know, but I do like what they did today, and Dallas is just, I don't know how you get back from that, man.
Yeah, talk about like I don't know. I don't know if I think it's one of the rare trades that you see in the NBA that is truly a lose-lose. Like I don't think the Wizards come out on top. I think if everything goes right, the Wizards side looks really good. Like if AD can stay healthy and Trey can play, he doesn't even need to play average defense. If he can play below average defense and not just terrible defense, then like the trade looks good. And you also need your young guys to keep progressing in the right direction as well, which is not always a given. I think if everything goes right, it looks really good for the Wizards. I think if everything goes poorly, you have AD's play like 20 games next season, and you have Trae Young play really bad defense, and you have the Wizards still be one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. There's a lot of ways it can go wrong. Yeah. For the Mavericks, I think you genuinely are now in the mindset of like, okay, hopefully this Warriors pick in 2030 is really good to us. Hopefully it's a top 5 pick, and hopefully we can build around Coop by shedding off salary and stuff, and hopefully by then Kyrie's gone and we can truly get a second superstar next to Coop. But like, you're just talking about wasting so many years of Coop dominance, and that's hard to stomach, regardless of how young he is. It's a hard pill to swallow. So
what is he, 19?
Yeah, he's 19 years old. Even if you do wait till 2030, that puts him at 23, 24, somewhere around there. So, I don't know. I understand that's still young. I understand you have a lot of time as long as he continues to sign with the team and everything. Just a lot of head scratchers from Dallas. It doesn't make things make sense. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the trade. I think it's a lose-lose, honestly, between both teams. I hope the Wizards win. I hope it ends up coming out solid. I feel like more times than not, though, the bad stuff goes wrong, and that might end up happening with the Wizards.
You're not wrong. What's encouraging, at least from our time doing DFS together, we've been doing this since 2018, somewhere around there, and on our own before that. So we've seen just perennial tankathons from teams like Charlotte, teams like Utah for at least the past 5 years. Teams like the Wizards, seemingly forever. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm just happy that some teams are actually like taking bigger swings when it comes to that. And I don't talk about this much, but if my teams, Brewers, Bucks, Packers, were not good in the 2010s, I don't think I'd be doing this podcast with you right now. And I think the same applies to you when it comes to the Yankees, and obviously with everything Kobe has done. I just think that we're starting to see the shift of what now, like the Bucks were really, really good for a decade, and now they are not. And it's just interesting to see the NBA shift like that.
Yeah, definitely fun. It definitely does feel like we're seeing. It definitely feels like a pretty impactful deadline. Sometimes you have deadlines that really don't live up to the hype. This one certainly has, and definitely feels like it could shift where the NBA lies at the end of the day. So definitely a lot of fun stuff happening. I will be on the record and probably jinx it. Hopefully not for your sake. I do not think Giannis gets traded. I said this pretty firmly in the Discord this morning that I think there's lots of reports of them dragging their heels. I don't think that's just made up. I think that there is a true want to get this to the summer. That way, because once you get it to the summer, a lot of the restrictions around what picks you can trade ends up being lifted. Money gets cleared up, so things are easier to move. I think there's just more suitors when you get to the summer compared to now, where it's just a bidding war between two teams, and they can only go so high. If he does get traded, it's to Miami. That's my take. And I honestly, if I'm in your shoes, I'm pretty happy about that Miami deal, because it's like, it's Tyler Hero, it's Khalil Ware, it's multiple picks. Like, I think the deal looks really solid on your end. But I don't think it ends up getting there at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's Miami, it's Golden State, it's Minnesota. Those are your
I think Golden State's out of it. I've everything that I've seen from Stein and from athletic beat reporters say that, like, it's really just a two-man race. Like, Warriors, they don't have the young pieces, and I think Giannis's team said something about, like, they don't really want to be put on Golden State and Steph get old, and they're in the same situation 2 years from now.
It's also a terrible, and you're looking at, I'll throw Minnesota in here too, but basketball aside, it is a terrible, terrible, terrible place to be a business and a business owner if you're going to go from Wisconsin to California. The tax increase is just incredibly, drastically different. And on top of that, when you're looking at Miami, Florida versus Minnesota and versus California, not even weather related, it's a win all the way around for Florida in terms of no income player tax, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
So,
I don't know. I also really hope it does get to the summer, because I heard Lakers are going to be true contenders for the Giannis deal.
A lot
if
of
it does
people
get
can
to
open
summer,
up their pocketbooks.
I'm telling you, man. Like, it turns from like a 2-team/3 team, if you consider the Warriors still in it, bidding war to like a 7-team bidding war probably. Like, it gets so much more. You can expect the Bucks to get so much more of a good deal on their end. So I don't know. We'll end up seeing. It'll be a lot of fun, regardless. I imagine we'll have some trades tomorrow. I doubt this is the end of it. I'm not going to screw myself again by saying nothing else is going to happen. But we'll see. All right. You got anything else here? I'll mention the housekeeping note that we have after you're done talking, so you don't have to say it. But anything else you got?
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I will reiterate is that all of my the rundown for the Super Bowl is up for members. And obviously we'll have projections. We talked about it. We'll run projections early for the Super Bowl, as well as get the top plays out, because I do think that posting them on Saturday is a bad idea, and I think that most line movement will be over by then. For what it's worth, we have not seen any shift in the spread yet, and I think that we will continue to not see anything probably until the weekend. But yeah, from the last moment I checked yesterday, I didn't see anything, and I'm looking now, and it's still Seahawks 4.5, and the total is still 45.5. So
pretty crazy.
Interesting stuff there.
Very interesting, considering that, like, everything that I've seen has said, like, the books need the Patriots to cover. Like, they
Yes, a lot of
are
Seahawks
taking
public.
so much action on the Seahawks right now,
Yeah.
and really curious that they're not moving the line. Definitely, I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening later. But yeah, housekeeping note is that we have been podcasting on Thursdays over the last few weeks with no NFL. We won't be doing that tomorrow. I have some personal stuff I need to handle, but we still want to podcast. Well, 3 days this week. It was going to be 4, but we didn't do Monday because of the small slate. We still want to podcast that extra day, though, so we'll be podcasting on Friday. And you've probably heard us talk about that a few times. We'll do the slate as we usually do, where Jared will cover most of the stuff, and I'll kind of just be hosting. And we'll also talk about some trade, our reactions to everything trade deadline. Maybe give out some grades. Maybe that's what we'll do. I'll have Jared and I prepare that. Okay. Anything else that you want to talk about before we get out of here, Jared?
Nope, we're all set.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thank y'all for listening. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer, and we will see y'all on Friday.